MediaTech Ventures Community Spotlight brought to you by Insperity, powerful HR solutions with exceptional follow-through. HR that makes a difference. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm your host, John Zazzaro, president and co-founder of MediaTech Ventures, here with the brilliant composer, Tobi Weiss, out of Germany. How are you today, Tobi? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you too. I'm actually very fine. I hope your day is a good one too, since it's pretty early at your side, I guess.
It's like, that's okay. Yeah, it is 7 a.m. here, but you know, that's completely okay. Understanding we're in different parts of the world. And I've had clients in India before, and that was really interesting, taking calls at 3 a.m. Won't go too far down that rabbit hole though. So let's hop right into it. You are the founder of filmandgamemusic.com. That's where people can check you out, check out your work. Brilliant URL, by the way. I don't know how you snatched that up.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, you started down your musical path at the age of 6 when you received your first toy piano. And so I'm kind of curious, you know, every journey of a musician is very different, right? There's different types of, and we talked a little bit about this before we started recording the show. Whereas you could be a rock star, right? You could try to pursue that. You could try to pursue the composition side, right? Which you're currently thriving in. You could be a studio musician, hired gun, right? Stuff like that. How can you walk us through how you kind of got to the point where you've realized that composing music was made for you?
Yeah, I try at least to keep it short, because you can say a lot of words about that. But as you already said, good preparation. In the age of 6, I was blessed to get a tiny keyboard as a Christmas present. And and then I began playing around. And 1 or 2 years later, I was able to learn playing the cello in elementary school. And I did that for like 5 or 6 years. And then that bad story happened, that I was like, ooh, it's way cooler to play the electric guitar and sing around, and I absolutely have to become a rock star. But I was way too shy for the stage. So I was just like standing around and didn't know what I'm actually doing. And I noticed for the first time that I had way more fun creating the instrumentals and the music more than actually performing the stuff. And I think, so that was around the age of 16, so like 12 years ago, when I began playing around with, I guess it was like Magix, Amplitude Magix or something, a very small, DAW, the program where you compose music with very basic summary. And so it began. And I think, then there was that day when school ended. So I was sitting there in my room, and I was like, okay, I have to do something. And at first, I was actually struggling, because I was like, it's my biggest passion. I don't want my passion to become a job. And I think that's something a lot of artists have to struggle with. But I'm pretty sure that if there is even a very tiny chance that you could be able to earn money with your biggest passion, you should absolutely go for that. And that was my plan too. So I began studying. It wasn't the brightest decision to study music production. I guess I'm pretty sure that I would have been able to achieve the knowledge in an autodidactic way, but still, I decided that I would try to become a composer. And why a composer for games? It's not my only business, but my biggest pleasure to do music for games, and that's because I love games. And so it was pretty obvious that I wanted to aim for that part of the music industry, to become a part of it. Yeah.
So you have a diverse skill set, and in that, you know, composition can reach across the aisle for many different forms of media, whether that's film, whether
Mhm.
that's video games, whether that's commercials. I'm curious. I've often thought about this, and you're the one of the first people that I've actually gotten the chance to interview that has demonstrable experience in the video game industry from a composition standpoint. How does somebody get into video game composition? I feel like it's a mystery for everybody that's
It's
trying to pursue a
still,
career in that path.
um, actually, it's there is no secret. I can't. I sadly don't have some secret information that are like, yeah, you have to do this and that. It's total a total struggle or for example, the first 4 or 5 years, I maybe earned like way less than $1,000 with the music I compose, and I still created music every day because when there's the day and you decide you want to become a game composer, um, you can't go out there to a game studio and yeah, be like a trainee or something. Um, you are pretty much alone. So what I did in the beginning, I did multiple things. For example, I wrote like thousands of mails. I went through on the the Steam store.
Hmm.
You can look at a list of all the developers that are on Steam, and I googled each of their names and found out the email address and I wrote them. And then you write 1,000 mails and get like 10 answers, and 10 of them are no, because you have nothing to show. You can say, yeah, I'm really good, and here's my show reel with like 100 tracks, and I will be a great composer for your game, but you can't prove it. So it's a bit of a that's the struggle in the beginning, that you somehow have to prove that you are good, but you don't get the chance that you are good. But and I don't know what exactly made things change.
Hmm.
I think I just kept trying. I used all the platforms available. For example, in the indie dev group in Facebook, I grew an Instagram channel and stuff, and always try to present what I'm doing. And maybe the most successful thing I began doing is I just acted like I was creating music for games, but I actually didn't. But for example, I created a video and I explained why I created a track or a few tracks that way for a game that didn't exist. By that way, I could explain my thoughts and the possibilities you have when you create with music. And I think it was of course I was lying, obviously, but it's still while doing that, I was able to actually reach out to some people and make them notice me and the ideas and the possibilities and the chances for the impact of the whole game and the whole thing come with game music. I think
That
that was the
that's
most.
brilliant, man.
I don't
You know,
know.
I think that a couple key important takeaways from that is obviously research communities in which you want to be involved with, right?
Absolutely.
Which is what you did with Steam, and even then, right? Thousands of emails, a lot of no's because you just didn't have a portfolio that they could go and look at, even if you had 100 songs that you composed.
Yeah, and
Um,
there was one yes, for example. It was
right,
like
exactly. Well, and
so.
that's the key, right? Like pursue it, get that one yes, and you're kind of in. But then I also love this idea though of, well, you know, wear the suit for the job you want, right? Pretty much. I'm gonna showcase my thought process in developing this, and I'm gonna show you how I do it.
Yeah.
And
That's
I wouldn't
very
say
important.
lying. I'd say it was more educational, right? Like this is
Yeah, and
how I would do it.
it's pretty much like most of the developers, especially when they're starting out. And I really enjoy working in the indie field because there are a lot of people that have dreams and visions, but they also from time to time don't know much about the games industry and what games can do, and especially what game music can do. So they have these offers in like sound libraries and go for, yeah, I can have 30 minutes of music for $50. And of course, the first few years I worked for free a lot, but in the end, art, you have to pay for something. So I always try to adapt my rates to the given budget, but still it's more than $50 for 30 minutes of music. And the problem is that these preset, these ready to go music you can get from the libraries, it works. Of course it works. You can put a simple loop under an action scene and it will work. It's like the Marvel films. The music, nobody remembers the music, but it still works. But the possibilities you have if you make the audience remember the music, and if, for example, if you work with leitmotifs, so melodies connected to specific characters or whatever you want, are enormous. So the best case is if somebody walks around and is humming this melody and he remembers the melody, and he remembers, oh yeah, that was this or that situation in the game, that was awesome. And then he talks to somebody else and they will talk about the game. So it's not only about increasing the impact or the experience of the game, it's also valuable, valuable, valuable,
Valuable.
valuable.
I
That
got you.
sounds way better. Regarding yeah, the potential sales of the game. And it's hard to pitch that without showing that. So it's always kind of a problem to talk about music, and way harder to talk about yeah, the impact of music. So yeah, these fake videos were the way to go, I
Well, so
guess.
I actually that's a good segment into. I want to talk a little bit about your inspirations, right? I mean, I'm a big video game fan myself, and there's a lot of video game music in particular that really inspired me, just as an artist. And so,
Yeah.
what are some of the video games in the compositions that really stood out for you?
Mm, there are like these big examples, like of course the Elder Scrolls game have awesome music, but I think there are some better examples for great use of music. I don't want to say that they are whatever. There are awesome examples. For example, Celeste. I don't know, did you play Celeste? This super hard platformer
Mm-hmm.
that also comes with a great story. And the first thing is you have a game where you die like hundreds of times in one screen. The music has to be, yeah, you have to listen to that music really, really long. And so it has to work. It has to make you feel like, okay, I'm still going. I have to do that and I will do that. But that's not everything. They have one main theme connected to the character. And I don't want to spoil anything because I think everybody should play this game because it's not only a hard platform, but it's really amazing regarding the story and stuff. There's this main theme connected to the main character. I don't remember the name, but that doesn't matter now. And this theme is introduced in the title theme or in the first stage, I don't know. And throughout the game, the character changes and the theme changes too. It's like the mindset changes, and also, yeah, there are pretty deep changes. And the theme has the same changes, but in the music, and you don't really notice that. You are never in the game, you are like, whoa, that's a great track, there's this super epic chord or something. But after that, if you think about the game, you may notice that everything was working hand in hand in the most perfect way. It was like the auditive and the visual layer were dancing with each other and creating this super intense experience. Same goes for if you put away Celeste, for example, Octopath Traveler. The game, it's it's not the best game, especially the last 10 or 30 hours, but the music is so amazing. I can't stop listening to that soundtrack. When I listened to it the first time, I was blown away because he said, yo, I studied literally all the RPG classics, and he created leitmotifs. So again, if you connect a theme, in that case, to a character, and you can make that theme reappear. For example, you have a melody that is based on 5 different tones, and you make that reappear when the character appears. Later on, the player will notice that character if he listens to the music, and if you make slightly changes to the melody. For example, it's played a bit slower with other instruments, or you change one tone from a major tone to a minor chord, you will notice, oh, something's happening. Maybe he's sad. You can control a lot of things with these leitmotifs, and he put it to the next level. So anybody who didn't listen to the Octopath Traveler soundtrack yet should totally do that. Don't play the game; it's too long, and really not. It looks so beautiful. It's so sad that it's getting weird. But yeah, I think these 2 games are the go-to examples if I think about that and talk about
So
that.
I want to talk a little bit about your process now, because you mentioned RPG. I'm a huge RPG fan. I've beaten all the Final Fantasies multiple times, and even just some of the MMO. I was a big
really.
I was a big fan. Yeah, I was a big fan of WoW back.
But I tried it once when it came out, but I don't know if but it changed, yeah.
Yeah, well, again, right? Like I no longer have the kind of time that WoW demands, but that's a different conversation. But I'm curious. There's obviously different styles of video games, and what does your process look like, right? What walk me through. Are there genres that you try to stick to when it comes to video games that are kind of up your alley as far as composition goes, or are you pretty all over the place and you'll make whatever? Like, for example, Terraria, right, versus a Final Fantasy, right? 2 completely different types of video games. One is side scroller, right, very pixel, right, and Minecraft-esque, right, and then you've got the open world. What does that process look like when bringing this music to life? Ultimately, the game as well.
So you have to cover everything, and I love to cover everything, but of course you have preferences. Like I always love to connect different genres and styles. For example, retro sounds with modern orchestral stuff, if the game allows that, for example. But let's start from the beginning. For example, somebody reaches out to me and he has a game. You almost never get like a playable vertical slice or something. In most of the cases, if you're lucky, there are artworks or something. But most of the times, I have to talk to the developer. And then I try to get as much information as possible about the world he's creating. And then I try to transform that information to music. And I don't begin with the instrumentation. In most of the cases, I try to sit down on the piano with a classic piano sound and just play around. And I try to get something that could work as a basement. Only one melody. We don't have to use that later, but it should somehow represent the whole thing. Then I present that melody, and then I'm like, okay, I'm trying to create the main sound color of the game, and then I'm going to I'm taking that melody, and I try different instruments, try to transform them, add other elements and stuff. And I still don't do specific tracks, for example. So like, yeah, I'll begin with the boss battle theme. That would be pretty weird. But in the first few days or weeks, depending on how much time we have, we only try to find the sound of the game. And so every evening, after a work day, I send the current state and we talk about the process. So I really enjoy talking a lot with the developer, and not like, yeah, you get the final product in like 2 weeks, because that wouldn't work. Of course, I could deliver something, but in a lot of cases, it's very good input that the developer gives, because like, yeah, but maybe you could add something that sounds swirly or something. There are very often weird adjectives, but that helps. And so you can work with that. It's like someone, yeah, okay, swirly. And so we talk about that every day, and then after a few days we find the sound of the game, and then we can begin creating a concept. What do we want? Will the music be dynamic? Because that's one of the most interesting things of game music, that it's not like in a movie that the ship will hit the iceberg at minute 67 or something. You don't know what the player will do. It could be like, yeah, I'm going to stay in that forest here for 12 hours, and you have no idea. So and that's super exciting to work with these dynamic layers, and there's so many possibilities that you can do with dynamic and yeah, music that reacts to the player. It's amazing.
So that's really that's an interesting process. In the past, when I've been in the recording studio, I know from like a tonality standpoint, right? When I work with producers, I'll say stylistically, we're going for something that sounds similar to A, B, or C, right? So when you're working with these developers, do you try and is everything completely new? Or do you ask them, what based off their inspiration or other video game music that they really enjoy, just to give you some sort of perspective or direction?
Mm. I enjoy beginning with a pitch I create that's based on nothing, only on what I have in mind after listening to their words or watching the artworks and stuff. I always ask for that. So yeah, would it be okay if I create something without? Because yeah, you're totally right. In most of the cases, they send like example tracks. It's like temp music in the film industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes games sound the same.
Right.
Like yeah, because they get so used to this temp music, and yeah, it's pretty hard to get away from that. But in a lot of cases, we find something that's in the middle of both. So because it's not like this or these temp tracks very often make sense, because there is stuff that almost always works, but you still have to somehow yeah find an addition that makes things unique. And it gets harder and harder every day, because you won't be able to write a melody that hasn't been written yet. So the way to get unique is in creating unique sound for somehow. And that's something I try to tell all my clients or partners um, during the progress, that we don't want to copy something because it works, but we want to create something that really supports like the soul or whatever of the game to make it shine in the end. Yeah.
So when you're thinking about the different sequences and all of these diverse layers, how long, what is the from start to finish, right? Does a project usually take for for an indie game, or is it all over the place?
Yeah, it depends. But for example, the last bigger project I did was for a visual novel, a genre I don't enjoy playing, but still it's fun to create music for that world. And I think Lisa from Steamberry Studio hired me for 40 minutes of music, I guess. It turned out 40, yeah. And we worked like 2 months until the pre-final music was done, and
Wow.
another month. Yeah, it was kind of a bonus month for polishing because yeah, it was like I was delivering the final tracks, and I were like, I actually have time right now, and I gonna spend some extra time on that because I really enjoyed working on that project, and if I feel like I can improve the outcome, I have to improve it because it's everything I have is my work. But yeah, but 2 months for 40 minutes, I think that's you can be way faster, and a lot of the times you don't have that much time.
So it fluctuates, right? It's kind of
Yeah, absolutely.
got it,
I
got it.
think a
So
track,
go ahead.
yeah. I think a track, like if you go for a 2 or 3 minutes track that you create as an example track, takes like from 20 to 50 hours until it
Okay.
gets presentable. But then it's in a presentable state. But you can go to infinity when it comes to how much things I can improve.
Yeah, that's
It's
pretty
really, yeah.
remarkable. 40 to 50 hours for 2 to 3 minutes of music. It just goes to show how much work and attention to detail goes into it. So that's pretty cool. I never, again, right? This is all very new to me, so it's just pretty exciting. When I want to move a little bit now to what your thoughts are on I don't know if you do anything in VR and AR in particular, or that space. Have you worked at all in the VR AR space with either spatial audio or 360 audio design?
Yeah. There was one opportunity. The actor of Kratos of the latest God of War actually reached out to me since he did an elevator pitch for Epic Games. I didn't hear anything until now, so it seems like it didn't work. But that was that was a VR experience, and that was pretty crazy. I think the sound designers have much more work to do since only if the music comes, for example, out of specific areas, then you have to care about that the code knows what's happening. But in most of the cases, for me, it's only like, okay, I still do a stereo mix because VR doesn't mean that anybody has like super high tech surround headphones, and but you still do a surround mix in addition. You always have that in mind. And in general, if you create something in stereo, you always have to keep an eye on the depth of the field so that but that's nothing new, I guess. Via pre-delays and stuff, you can decide how far away or close something sounds, and we are equalizing and so on. But I'm not sure if it's worth spending a lot of effort right now to improve my skills regarding VR. If there would be a project, I'd totally be a part of that. But I think it takes a few more years until VR really is able to be something that's in everybody's household. There's still some things that need to be changed until
Yeah, I
it can
feel you
grow.
there. I feel you there.
Yeah.
I hope Oculus too, right? Should be
Yeah.
the catalyst there. Where are there communities of video game composers, right? Either on Facebook or on other websites. Where do you guys and ladies congregate?
I'm not the best one for answering such questions because I really enjoy being alone. To be honest, it's like I don't know. I I totally enjoy sitting in my room and making music for 24 hours, and that's it. And the same goes for mm, communicating with other composers. I am not good in that. I do research and I study other composers' work, but I know that it would be better, and I'm super lucky that I'm able to reach out to potential clients and stuff and talk with them over the internet and stuff. If I had to call everybody or go visit somebody, I won't sit here in the studio today. I wouldn't be able to do that because I don't know. I'm very introverted and I enjoy having my private space. So I have no idea where these composers meet that the internet.
Well, it's like, I guess we'll find out, right? It's kind of like where the great white sharks go to mate. Nobody knows. So now, if I wanted to, what would you recommend to somebody that wanted to get into film and video game composition? What are some lessons that you've learned? And again, you're still very young, so you've got an entire long, prosperous career ahead of you. But what are some lessons you've learned thus far that you would recommend either to do differently for somebody if they asked you, like how to get into your field, or things that worked really well for you?
Mm. Yeah, I think there are a few things. The first one is the most obvious one: do music. Every hour you spend on doing music, if it's fun, you do that anyway. Will make you grow. Study other professionals' music. Try to recreate that. That's something I can totally recommend because you understand what you did, what they did, and then you won't copy them later, but you learn things. The other thing is I already mentioned that I studied, and yeah, it was a private university, and I paid a lot of money, and I think that that's not worth it. I'm not sure how's that on other in other countries and stuff, but until now, none of my clients asked for my if I have a bachelor degree or something. And of course, I learned stuff over there, but yeah, the price was like I think I can draw that like 20,000 euros, and that's not worth it. Especially today, you can learn almost everything in awesome tutorials and stuff, and just by doing things, learning by doing. And that might not be the case for everybody. Maybe some people need such a place like a university where they have to do stuff. But in that case, maybe they are not the right person to become a composer, because if you have to be at a place to actually care about your skills and your the whole thing, I think there has to be this natural feel or the need to do that thing. Is there something else that can help a bit more?
That's perfect. I mean, that's really sound advice. I think a lot of artists get caught up in this idea that, because I myself never pursued college. I instead went on tour with my friends
Yeah.
and continued to do that for a while, and taught myself a lot of stuff along the way, right? Where there
And you probably had a great time.
Oh, an incredible time. Yeah. Rather than
So,
going, 4 years to university to get a bachelor's or something.
absolutely.
So I can really appreciate that, and I resonate with that very strongly. But again, it does take a certain individual to learn all those other skill sets, whether that's how the internet works, or how technology works, or how marketing works, how Facebook and Instagram
Absolutely.
and Twitter and all these other things work, right? I mean, it was a lot of books, it was a lot of videos, and it was a lot of trial and error. And if you are passionate enough about it, you will pursue it and you will figure it out. Otherwise, no offense to those of you that call yourselves musicians or composers, but if you're not constantly living and breathing what you want to do, then you're a hobbyist, and that's fine, right? But
Absolutely.
again, if it's some of us are a little bit more aggressive than others, we'll just leave it at that. Now, what does your setup look like? I've watched your videos. Like again, I'm a really big fan. I think a lot of your compositions are incredible. Hence why I reached out.
I
And
really
really
appreciate
happy.
it. Thank
I'm
you.
really happy we were able to do this. But your setup is very minimal, and I can appreciate that. It's not expensive studios. It is stuff that with a little bit of an investment, you could do it. You can do it too. So can you walk us through your gear setup really quick? And what does that look like?
Actually, it's this table with this keyboard laying around and yeah, a good interface, a monitor. But that's something I got after a few years to make everything more comfortable. In the end, I really enjoy working in the box. Since and that's that's a place where you can really spend a lot of money. Um, you actually work with what the people who never heard about that virtual instruments. So with that keyboard, you play all of that instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple set, and then you take care that it sounds like it was played by a human being. And yeah, so also for some people that start things, they are really cheap. Yeah, like libraries that have, it's like a roundhouse kick of the different instruments that are available. And I began with a laptop and a tiny MIDI keyboard too. So you can sit down and create everything in the box today. And yeah, that's it. You got your DAW, you go for whatever you want. I work with Cubase today, but you don't have to begin with a project with a program like that. That's pretty expensive, to be honest. And but yeah, it's not like because it looks like a minimalistic place. It's still not beginner friendly business, to be honest.
Sure.
Because of course there are great things to start out, but the good instruments, for example, if you go for a good string library, you pay like at least $500 to and up, and then if the next one, the better one, comes out, you can't sell that previous one since it's bound to your ID and stuff, and you want a lot of instruments because you have a lot of ideas in mind. And so you can really spend a lot of money on that. Yeah, that's what I did, because I was just like, okay, I would love to have a giant rack of synthesizers on my wall, but that's not worth the investment right now, because I could use the money I earn with music to buy more, yeah, valuable for
More
me.
packs. Yeah. More instrument
Exactly.
packs.
And that's the synthesizer wars will follow later in like 15 years, I hope. But yeah, that's literally it. What you're seeing behind of me right now. It's not that much, and yeah, I'm sitting the whole day, to be honest.
Well, that's I mean, MIDI, right? I mean, you got your audio
Yeah,
interface, you
exactly.
got a DAW, and you got a computer screen. I mean, that's as bare bones as it gets. Obviously, it does get expensive with the software and the tools. So that to me is a really big. It could be a big investment, right? But it's not a big investment to get started, and I think that's what a lot of people.
Absolutely not.
That's where a lot of people I think fall short, is they think it's this monumental, right, like investment that they need to do, and it's
No,
really not. It's really not to get
you
started.
can really take the laptop, and for example, there is can I mention a company? I don't know if
Sure.
that's
Yeah. Yeah. You can. Yeah.
for example, if you go for East-West sound, they offer it was my starting point. They offer the Composer Cloud. You pay, I think it starts at well, for students even less, but I think $20 or $25 per month, and it goes to 50, I guess, if all the mic positions, and you get their whole library, and they have it's top-notch stuff. They don't have everything. And for example, you have Spitfire and stuff I enjoy more, but as a starting point, that's intense. And you don't lose like the rights of the things you created. If you be like, okay, I can't pay for that this month, you can't use it then, obviously, but you still have added everything. And that's like $25 per month for any instrument of the world you can imagine, in high quality stuff. Really, they are intent. Their core is amazing. They are going to release a new string library this fall, and they have awesome synthesizers, drums, real drums, the Storm drums they created, solo vocals. So for $25 per month, that's intense. And so you have your laptop, you go for that Composer Cloud, you have some, everybody has earphones since you probably own $1,000 smartphone, and so you can literally begin. The very first weeks, I guess, I didn't even have this MIDI keyboard. I just played with the keys on my laptop. You can this software keyboard, I guess. But I still did something because I wanted to do something, and so that's not a reason to not start doing music.
Right. So we're coming up on time here. I've got a couple more questions for you. Yeah. This is my favorite question that I ask everybody. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh fuck! I think about the question so often, and I ask it so many people. Any superpower?
Any superpower.
There's so many good answers, but I think in the end, I would take a very boring one. It would be something like, if allowed, me and the people I like, if not allowed, only me, I couldn't get ill or something. That sounds super boring, but let me explain. If I would go for something like I could let things fly, some awesome psychic powers of flying and stuff, I would 2 years from now, I would be in an American prison or something, and they would study me, because I wouldn't be able to not present it to people. I know me. And then I thought around, and maybe I could print money or something, but anything of that would cause problems in the end. And so I mean, like, okay, I don't want to get ill, and that's it. It won't cause problems. And yeah,
hey, you know what? I love how much thought you put into this. like if I was flying around, they'd cut me open and study me. Like,
way too much. Like,
that's funny.
That's very. But what's your answer? Or did you?
What's my answer?
Yeah.
I honestly, I think about Morph from the X-Men, because.
But you would be in that prison too.
Well, here's the thing though. As Morph, I do have the ability to not only morph into anybody, but I also have the ability to morph into any person that has a specific power or talent, and I would adopt that, right, as that character. So you'd be able to mitigate being caught by just being somebody different, and you it's kind of all encompassing. I really like the story of Morph and X-Men. It's untold. Yeah. And he was a good guy gone bad, and one of my favorite characters of all time in that entire series. But and another power I thought about, which would be great, is compositions that are in my head automatically were captured on a DAW.
I thought about that too, but it would take away the fun, I guess, because then I remember that moments when you are deep in the process, like, yeah, that would be pretty cool too. Just sometimes a few minutes before I fall asleep, maybe some people know that there's something like this pre-dream music.
Oh yeah,
very, very weird music that you can't capture if you get away from that like 50% sleep status.
That's right. Yeah. Who was it? I know that Thomas Edison used to sleep while he'd sit in his
Oh,
chair with a glass of water in his hand. And when he fell asleep, he would drop the glass and then he'd wake up and he would just write for a long time, right? Anything that came to his mind. And then I also know that Quincy Jones was also a really big fan of, he did a lot of his compositions, um, right after he took a nap. And so there's
yeah.
a lot of people actually do that. And yeah, you're absolutely right in that as well. How do people get a hold of you if they need your services to make incredible compositions for their projects?
Um, they reach out to me actually. It's not a big thing. The most of the people who contact me via Instagram today, I, a few years I was like, nah, I don't want to use Instagram. I'm too old for that. But actually, it totally works. And I think that's the go-to way. And then they write me a mail and are like, yo, I'm developing this game right now. And I want your music. And it's just so weird for me that people, because I began like the last 2 years or something, I was able to afford my living with making music, and people began reaching out to me, and other composers were like, yo, I want to become like you. And it was, I'm only Toby sitting in my room. And it's still very, very weird that people reach out to me, especially bigger people that already worked in the AAA industry or something, and want especially needs. But I think that's something good. I hope I never lose that feeling that I appreciate the current state and stuff. That's one of the hardest things, I guess, to don't
So
forget these things. Yeah.
So for those of you that do want to get a hold of Tobi Weiss, you can go to his website, which is filmandgamemusic.com. Reach out on there. You'll also find a little bit more about his background himself, as well as a lot of incredible compositions and highlight reels that he's done over his career, and in a long, prosperous career. I hope you have, because like I said, I'm a fan. I'll be following you. So thank you for being on the show today. Thank you to our partners and Insperity for allowing us to make this happen. We do look forward to the next Incredible Community Spotlight. Stay tuned for that next week. Make sure you give us a follow and a like to stay up to date with all things media technology, especially in our community as it continues to thrive and grow. And now we're reaching across the ocean, and Tobi being our very first guest from Germany. So thank you so much for the time today, good sir. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you too.